The grand assembly hall buzzed with voices from 1,000 different worlds. Speaker Velronis stood at the center of the massive chamber, his crystalline body catching the light from distant stars. He had lived for 3,000 years and seen countless debates in this hall. Today felt like any other day. Around him, representatives from 5,000 species argued about the Corlan crisis. Two powerful groups of planets were ready to go to war. Nobody wanted to send their own ships to stop them. Everyone had an excuse. The military powers said it was not their problem. The rich trading world said war was bad for business. The ancient civilizations said they had seen worse and this would pass. Velronis was tired of it all. He raised one crystal arm and the chamber fell silent. His voice echoed through the hall, translated into thousands of languages by the station's computers. We have debated for 3 weeks. The Corlan factions move closer to war every day. We must act now or watch billions die. A reptilian delegate hissed from across the room. Then send the peacekeeping fleet. The peacekeeping fleet has 200 ships. The Corlan factions have 4,000 between them. It would be suicide. More arguments followed. Velronis felt his patience wearing thin. Then his assistant, a floating sphere of light, whispered in his mind. There was one more item on the agenda. Something unusual. Velronis held up his hand again. Before we continue, I have an announcement. We have received a response to our invitation. The chamber went quiet for a moment. Then someone asked which civilization had responded. Earth. Laughter erupted across the hall. Earth. The tiny planet with one moon and a handful of space stations. The world that had ignored 200 years of invitations. Many delegates did not even know where Earth was located. Velronis allowed himself a thin smile. Indeed. After 2 centuries of silence, the humans have decided to join us. Their representative should arrive shortly. More laughter. A bird-like creature in the front row chirped loudly. What could those primitives possibly offer? Last I heard, they barely have space travel. Velronis checked the time. The human representative was due any moment. He wondered if they would even show up. Humans were known for being unreliable. The main doors of the chamber opened. A single figure walked in. He was human, wearing a simple dark suit. His hair was black and gray, his face calm. He walked alone to the speaker's platform without rushing or hesitating. The chamber fell silent. Thousands of eyes watched the human. He looked small and plain compared to the alien delegates around him. Some were giants. Others floated in tanks of liquid. A few were pure energy contained in force fields. The human looked almost boring. Velronis leaned forward. You are the representative from Earth? The human bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Hyunwoo. I speak for humanity and the government of Earth. His voice was clear and strong. He spoke perfect galactic standard without any accent. That surprised Velronis. Most new species struggled with the language for decades. Welcome, Ambassador. Though I must say your timing is interesting. Earth has ignored our invitations for 200 years. Why respond now? Hyunwoo smiled slightly. We were not ready before. Now we are. Ready for what? Someone shouted from the back. The room filled with whispers and quiet laughter. Velronis raised his hand for silence. Ambassador, you should know that Earth has very little standing in this council. You have been absent for 2 centuries. You cannot expect to have any real voice in our decisions. I understand. Hyunwoo nodded. We do not expect special treatment. We simply wish to offer our assistance with the current crisis. The Corlan crisis? The reptilian delegate hissed with amusement. What could Earth possibly do? Hyunwoo turned to face the delegate. We can provide a peacekeeping force. The chamber erupted in laughter. Even Velronis had to suppress a smile. Earth's entire space capability consisted of a few dozen patrol ships. They could barely defend their own solar system, let alone enforce peace between 2 massive military powers. Ambassador, Velronis said gently, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but the Corlan factions have thousands of warships. They would destroy any force you could send in minutes. Hyunwoo did not seem bothered by the laughter. He simply stood there waiting. His calm manner was starting to make Velronis uncomfortable. Then the alarms went off. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. The station's defensive systems had detected something. Velronis felt a surge of fear. An attack here at the Nexus? His assistant's voice filled his mind, urgent and shocked. Speaker, you need to see this. The massive viewing screens around the chamber flickered to life. They showed the space around the Nexus station. Velronis stared in disbelief. Ships, hundreds of them, no thousands. They appeared in perfect formation, surrounding the station in neat geometric patterns. The scanners counted them automatically. 1,000 warships, all broadcasting the same identification signal. Human vessels, from Earth. The chamber was completely silent now. Every delegate stared at the screens. The ships were beautiful in a deadly way. Sleek hulls made of unknown metals. Weapons covering every surface. Energy readings that made no sense. These were not primitive patrol boats. Velronis turned slowly to look at Ambassador Hyunwoo. The human stood exactly as before, calm and patient. How? Velronis whispered. Where did these come from? Hyunwoo smiled. We have been busy during our absence. Earth has been listening to the Council's transmissions for 200 years. We learned about galactic politics, military tactics, and technology. We saw what weapons the great powers used. We studied every war, every treaty, every debate, but the surveys, the reptilian delegate stammered. Our scouts reported minimal industry in your system. We built in places you did not look. The far side of our moon, hollowed-out asteroids, deep space facilities beyond your sensor range. We took our time and did it properly. A delegate from one of the military powers stood up. This is a threat. You bring a war fleet to our council chamber? Hyunwoo shook his head. This is a demonstration. You asked what Earth could offer. This is our answer. We can enforce peace in Corlin space. We have the ships, the weapons, and the will to do it. Velronis felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear mixed with respect. These humans had planned for 200 years. They had built an entire war fleet in secret. They had learned everything about galactic civilization while appearing primitive and isolated. And now they were here, with 1,000 warships at their back asking to join the council. Hyunwoo looked around the chamber. His voice carried clearly in the shocked silence. We understand that Earth must earn its place here. We are willing to prove ourselves. Let us handle the Corlin crisis. If we succeed, we ask for full membership in the Galactic Council. Velronis found his voice. And if you fail, then we will leave and never return. But we will not fail. The confidence in those words was absolute. Hyunwoo believed every word he said. And looking at the 1,000 warships on the screens, Velronis was starting to believe it too. The galaxy had ignored Earth for 2 centuries, dismissing humanity as primitive and irrelevant. That was about to change. The silent years were over, and humanity had arrived with a force that could not be ignored. The emergency council session began 2 hours after humanity's fleet arrived. Every delegate was present this time. Nobody wanted to miss what happened next. The chamber felt different now. The casual attitude was gone, replaced by tension and fear. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood at the speaker's platform looking as calm as before. Behind him on the viewing screens, the human fleet maintained its perfect formation. Each ship was aimed at a different section of space, creating a sphere of weapons coverage around the Nexus station. Speaker Velronis had spent the last 2 hours reviewing intelligence reports about Earth. The results were shocking. Human technology was decades ahead of galactic standards in some areas. Their weapons used principles that most species had never discovered. Their ships could accelerate faster, turn quicker, and fight longer than anything else in known space. How did we miss this? A military analyst from the Hive Collective had asked. How did they hide all of this? Because we were not looking, the analyst's superior answered. We assumed they were primitive. We stopped paying attention. Now everyone was paying attention. Velronis opened the session with a simple question. Ambassador Hyunwoo, what exactly are your terms? Hyunwoo activated a holographic display. A document appeared in the air, written in galactic standard. Its terms were clear and surprisingly detailed. Earth will deploy its peacekeeping fleet to the Corlin territories. We will enforce a ceasefire between both factions. We will prevent any military action until negotiations can produce a lasting peace treaty. In exchange, we request full membership in the Galactic Council. That seemed reasonable enough. Too reasonable. Velronis waited for the other demands. They came quickly. We also request access to restricted hyperspace routes, permission to establish colonies in neutral zones, and a permanent seat on the Security Committee. The chamber erupted in protests. These were privileges that took thousands of years to earn. Ancient civilizations had waited centuries just to get voting rights. Earth wanted everything immediately. This is outrageous, a delegate shouted. You cannot demand such concessions for a single peacekeeping mission. Hyunwoo waited for the noise to die down. Then he spoke again, his voice quiet but firm. We are not making demands. We are offering a trade. You need someone to stop the Corlin War. We can do it. In return, we want recognition as equals. Equals? A crystalline being laughed. You have been in space for barely 300 years. Some of us have existed for millions. Age does not equal wisdom. Hyunwoo looked directly at the being. And presence does not equal power. We have proven we can build. We have proven we can organize. Now we will prove we can fight. Velronas called for order. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued that Earth should be accepted. The Corlin crisis was growing worse every day. If the humans could actually stop it, the price was worth paying. Others insisted that giving Earth such power would set a dangerous precedent. It would encourage other young species to try the same thing. During a break, Envoy Taeyang from the Hive Collective approached Hyunwoo. The insectoid's compound eyes studied the human carefully. You planned this very carefully, Taeyang clicked. 200 years of preparation. You knew exactly what leverage you would need. Hyunwoo smiled. We learned from watching the council. Power is the only language that matters here. Words without strength are meaningless. Be careful. The elder races will accept you out of necessity, but they will never forgive you for forcing their hand. You will have enemies. We already have enemies. At least now we will have a voice. The session resumed. Velronas proposed a vote. All delegates in favor of accepting Earth's terms would signal green. Those opposed would signal red. It was a simple majority vote. The results were close. Many of the elder races voted against it. But the younger civilizations and those most affected by the Corlin crisis voted yes. The measure passed by a slim margin. Earth was officially a member of the Galactic Council. Hyunwoo showed no emotion as the results were announced. He simply bowed to the assembly and said, "We will not disappoint you." Above the Nexus station, the human fleet began to move. Admiral Dae-jung sat in the command center of his flagship, watching the tactical displays. He was a tall man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had spent 40 years in Earth's secret navy, building this fleet ship by ship. Split the fleet as planned, he ordered. 400 ships to Corlin Alpha territory, 400 to Corlin Beta. 200 remain here as reserve. His officers moved quickly. The fleet divided into 3 groups with perfect precision. Within minutes, 800 ships jumped to hyperspace, leaving ripples in space-time that made the Nexus station's sensors scream. Captain Subin commanded a frigate in the group headed to Corlin Alpha. She was young for a ship captain, only 32 years old. But she had trained her entire adult life for this moment. Earth's military academies did not produce average officers. All stations report ready, her second officer said. Subin checked her displays one more time. Every system showed green. Her ship was ready for war. She just hoped it would not come to that. Jumping in 10 seconds, the universe twisted around them. Stars stretched into lines of light. Then everything snapped back to normal. They had arrived in Corlin space. Sensors showed hundreds of alien warships in the area. The Corlin Alpha fleet had been preparing for an attack on their enemies. Now they found 400 human ships blocking their path. Incoming transmission, the communications officer reported. A face appeared on the screen. It was General Vrex, commander of the Corlin Alpha military. He looked like a mixture of reptile and cat with scales and fur covering his muscular body. His eyes were angry. "Who are you? What are you doing in our territory?" Admiral Dae-jung's face appeared on every Corlin ship's screen at once. His expression was hard and uncompromising. "I am Admiral Dae-jung of the Earth Defense Fleet. By order of the Galactic Council, we are here to enforce a ceasefire. All military operations are to cease immediately." Vrex laughed. "Earth? I do not even know where that is. Leave now or be destroyed." Dae-jung did not respond with words. Instead, he gave a single order. Demonstration fire. Target their sensor array. 20 human ships fired at once. Their weapons were not lasers or plasma. They used graviton beams that bent space itself. The Corlin fleet's sensor platform, a massive structure the size of a small moon, simply ceased to exist. It did not explode. It did not burn. It was there one moment and gone the next, torn apart at the molecular level. The Corlin fleet went silent. Every ship stopped moving. Rex's expression changed from anger to shock to fear in seconds. "That was a warning," Dae-jung said calmly. The next target will be your command ship. Stand down your weapons and prepare for negotiations. Slowly, reluctantly, the Corlin ships powered down their weapons. On the other side of Corlin space, the same scene was playing out with the Beta fleet. Earth had just announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Back at the Nexus, Velronis watched the reports coming in. The humans had disabled both Corlan fleets without destroying a single ship. They had demonstrated overwhelming power while showing restraint. It was a masterful display of military force. What have we done? A delegate whispered. We have given power to a species we know nothing about. Velronis did not answer. He was too busy wondering the same thing. Earth had been silent for 200 years, quietly building an empire in the shadows. Now they had revealed themselves, and the galaxy would never be the same. The age of human power had begun. 3 weeks had passed since Earth's fleet arrived in Corlan space. The ceasefire was holding, but barely. Both Corlan factions tested the humans constantly, looking for weaknesses. Small patrol ships would cross the neutral zone. Weapons would lock onto human vessels. Military stations would power up their defenses. Each time, the human response was swift and precise. Ships that violated the ceasefire found themselves disabled by electromagnetic pulses. Stations that targeted human vessels lost all power. The humans never destroyed anything, but they made it clear they could if they wanted to. Captain Subin sat in her command chair, studying the latest intelligence reports. Her ship was stationed near the border between Corlan Alpha and Beta territories. It was the most dangerous position in the fleet. Movement detected, her sensor officer called out. Multiple ships entering the neutral zone from both sides. Subin pulled up the tactical display. 10 ships from Alpha, 10 from Beta. They were converging on her position. This was different from the usual tests. This looked coordinated. Send a warning. Both fleets must return to their territory immediately. The warning went out. The ships kept coming. Subin felt her pulse quicken. Were they really going to attack? Did they think 20 ships could take down a human frigate? They are charging weapons, the tactical officer reported. Both groups. Contact Admiral Dae-Jung. Let him know we have a situation. Before the message could be sent, the Corlan ships opened fire. Energy beams and missiles filled space around Subin's frigate. The shields held easily, absorbing the attacks without strain. Return fire. Disable only. No lethal force. Her weapons officer activated the electromagnetic pulse cannons. Blue waves of energy swept out from the frigate. One by one, the Corlan ships went dark. Their engines died. Their weapons stopped firing. They drifted helplessly in space, but more ships were coming. Dozens more. Then hundreds. Subin's eyes widened as the sensors showed the full picture. The entire Corlan Alpha fleet was moving toward the neutral zone. On the other side, Corlan Beta was doing the same. They are working together, her second officer said in disbelief. Alpha and Beta are coordinating their attack. Admiral Dae-Jung's face appeared on every human ship's screen. All units, this is Admiral Dae-Jung. Execute Plan Hammer. Repeat, execute Plan Hammer. Subin had studied Plan Hammer in the academy. It was designed for exactly this situation. When facing superior numbers, the human fleet would not try to hold position. Instead, they would attack. All ships form up on my position. We are going through them. The 800 human warships moved as one. They accelerated toward the converging Corlan fleets at speeds that should not be possible. The Corlan commanders had expected the humans to retreat or try to defend. They were not prepared for a direct assault. Lieutenant Kyung-soo flew his fighter at the head of the attack formation. He was 26 years old and had dreamed of this moment his entire life. Not war exactly, but the chance to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. Fighter wing. Engage their screening vessels. Clear a path for the capital ships. His fighter was small and fast, barely larger than an ancient Earth jet. But it was packed with weapons and sensors that made it deadlier than most alien warships. He dove into the enemy formation, his finger dancing across the controls. 3 Corlan ships moved to intercept him. He rolled left, fired a burst from his graviton cannons, then pulled up hard. The 3 ships lost power and drifted out of control. He had disabled them in 2 seconds. Too easy, he said to himself. Then 10 more ships came at him and he had to focus. Admiral Dae-Jung watched the battle unfold from his flagship. The tactical display showed thousands of ships engaged in combat across a volume of space the size of a solar system. It looked like chaos, but it was carefully controlled. Deploy the drone swarms, he ordered. The human capital ships opened their launch bays. Thousands of small drones poured out, each one controlled by advanced artificial intelligence. They swarmed over the Corlin vessels like metal insects, attaching themselves to hulls and disabling systems. The Corlin fleets had never seen anything like it. Their commanders tried to adapt, but the drones were too fast and too numerous. Within minutes, dozens of alien warships were dead in space. General Vrex commanded the Corlin Alpha forces from his flagship. He had fought in wars for 30 years. He had won battles against superior numbers before, but this was different. The humans were not just better equipped. They fought with a coordination and efficiency that seemed impossible. "Focus fire on their command ship," he ordered. "If we can take out their admiral, they will break." Every weapon in the Alpha fleet turned toward Admiral Daejung's flagship. Energy beams, missiles, and kinetic projectiles converged on the human ship. It should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, a wall of smaller ships moved to intercept. Human destroyers and cruisers formed a protective screen, their shields linked together, creating a defensive barrier stronger than any single ship could produce. The Corlin attack splashed harmlessly against it. Vrex felt something he rarely experienced: fear. These humans were not just strong. They were professional. They worked together like parts of a single organism. He had underestimated them badly. "Activate kinetic bombardment platforms," Daejung ordered. High above the battle, hidden human satellites came to life. They were weapons platforms positioned weeks ago, waiting for this moment. Each one carried dozens of tungsten rods, simple chunks of metal that could be dropped from orbit with devastating effect. The rods fell through space at incredible speeds. They did not need explosives. The kinetic energy alone was enough. When they hit their targets, Corlin ships simply ceased to exist, torn apart by the impact. Subin saw 3 alien cruisers disappear from her sensors. The bombardment was terrifyingly effective, but she also saw that the admiral was being careful. He was targeting military installations and disabled ships, avoiding anything with crew still aboard. The battle raged for 6 hours. The human fleet moved through the Corlin forces like a knife through paper. Every tactic the aliens tried failed. When they grouped together for defense, the humans used long-range weapons to pick them apart. When they spread out to flank, the human ships moved faster and cut them off. Finally, Vrex admitted defeat. He sent a transmission to all Corlin ships: "Ceasefire. Stand down, weapons. We surrender." The Beta Fleet commander sent a similar message moments later. The battle was over. Over 2,000 Corlin ships had been disabled or destroyed. The human fleet had lost 3 ships and suffered minor damage to a dozen others. Admiral Daejung opened a channel to both Corlin commanders. "You chose to unite against us. That was wise. But you still lost. Now you will make peace with each other, or we will return and finish what you started." His voice was cold and hard. There was no room for argument. "We will negotiate," Vrex said quietly. "Just call off your fleet. All human ships return to peacekeeping positions, and deploy medical teams to assist with casualties." That last order surprised everyone. The humans had just crushed the Corlin fleets. Now they were offering medical help. Subin watched as human medical ships moved among the disabled alien vessels, providing aid and supplies. It was a calculated move, she realized. Show overwhelming force, then show mercy. Make the enemy fear you and respect you at the same time. It was brilliant. Back at the Nexus station, Speaker Velronis watched the reports with mixed feelings. Earth had proven its military power beyond any doubt. The Corlin crisis would end now, probably with a peace treaty that favored human interests. But at what cost? The elder races would not forget this humiliation. 2 ancient military powers had been defeated by a species barely 3 centuries old. The political consequences would reshape galactic civilization for generations. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood beside him, watching the same reports. His expression showed no triumph, only quiet satisfaction. "We kept our promise," Hyunwoo said. "The war is over." Velronis nodded slowly. "Yes, but now you have enemies throughout the galaxy. Many species will see this as a threat. Then they will have to accept that the galaxy has changed. Earth is here to stay." Humanity had proven itself in the most dramatic way possible. The silent years were truly over. Now came the harder part, learning to live with the consequences of their power. Earth ignored every galaxy meeting, then showed up with 1,000 warships. Part 4. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Corlin Prime. The peace treaty was signed. Trade routes reopened. Billions of lives were saved. Earth was celebrated across the galaxy as the force that stopped a devastating war. But beneath the surface, trouble was growing. Ambassador Hyunwoo sat in his new office at the Nexus station. It was smaller than he expected for a full council member. The elder races had given Earth a seat, but they made sure it was not a comfortable one. His office was in a distant wing of the station. His requests for meetings were often delayed. His proposals were routinely blocked by procedural rules. Commander Bora entered without knocking. She was Earth's intelligence chief, a quiet woman who knew more secrets than anyone else in the human delegation. She carried a datapad and wore a concerned expression. "We have a problem," she said. "A big one." Hyunwoo gestured for her to continue. Bora activated the datapad. A holographic display showed a network of connections between different alien species. "The elder races are forming a coalition against us. Not military, at least not yet. They are using economic pressure and political isolation. 23 species have agreed to restrict trade with Earth. 40 more are blocking our access to certain hyperspace routes." Hyunwoo studied the display carefully. It was worse than he thought. The elder races were cutting Earth off from the galactic economy. If this continued, humanity would be forced back into isolation. "Can we fight this?" "Not with military force. This is politics. We need allies. Do we have any?" Bora changed the display. A different group of species appeared, highlighted in green. These are younger civilizations. Most of them have been marginalized by the elder races for centuries. They see us as potential champions for their interests. How many? About 200 species. Not as powerful individually as the elders, but together they represent significant economic and political weight. Hyunwoo leaned back in his chair. This was exactly the kind of situation he had trained for. Build alliances with the weak to counter the strong. It was a strategy as old as politics itself. Set up meetings with their leaders. Quietly. I want to talk to them before the elder races know what we are doing. There is something else. Bora looked uncomfortable. Someone tried to kill you last week. Hyunwoo raised an eyebrow. I am still alive. So they failed. They used a bioweapon designed specifically for human physiology. It was sophisticated, expensive. We only caught it because we scan everything you eat and drink. The poison was in your morning coffee. Who was behind it? A group of elder species. 6 of them working together. We have proof. Hyunwoo considered this carefully. An assassination attempt could be turned into a political weapon. If handled correctly, prepare a formal complaint to the council. Include all evidence. But wait until I say so. I want to use this at the right moment. On Earth, public opinion was divided. Senator Haewon stood in the global parliament, addressing thousands of representatives from different nations. She was a small woman with a powerful voice. We have been a council member for 6 months. What have we gained? Trade restrictions, political isolation, assassination attempts on our ambassador. I ask you, was it worth the cost? Admiral Daejung stood to respond. He had returned to Earth after the Corlin victory and was now seen as a hero. His opinion carried weight. We stopped a war that would have killed billions. We proved that humanity has a place among the stars. Yes, there are costs. There are always costs. But the alternative is to hide in our solar system and hope the galaxy ignores us forever. The debate continued for hours. Earth was learning that military victory was easier than political success. Fighting was simple. Diplomacy was complicated. Dr. Jae-won, Earth's chief xenobiologist, was working on a different approach. He had spent months studying galactic culture, looking for patterns and opportunities. He found them among the younger species. He arranged a meeting with representatives from 30 species. They gathered in a neutral location, away from the nexus in the eyes of the elder races. The room was filled with beings of every shape and size. Jae-won stood before them and spoke plainly. Earth is being isolated by the elder races. They fear our power and our rapid rise. But we are not the only ones they have treated this way. All of you have been marginalized. Your voices are ignored. Your interests dismissed. A delegate from a crystalline species spoke up. What do you propose? An alliance. Not military, but political. Together we represent over 200 civilizations. That is enough voting power to block elder race proposals. Enough economic strength to create our own trade networks. Enough voices to be heard. Another delegate, this one a floating jellyfish-like creature, asked the obvious question. Why should we trust Earth? You arrived with warships and demanded power. Because we understand what it is like to be underestimated. J1 met the creature's eyes. We were dismissed as primitive. Now we have proven ourselves. We can help you do the same. The meeting lasted 3 days. Slowly, carefully, an agreement took shape. They would call themselves the New Voices Coalition. Each member would maintain independence but coordinate on key council votes. They would share trade routes and technological information. Most importantly, they would stand together against elder race dominance. When the coalition was announced at the next council session, Speaker Velronis felt genuine alarm for the first time in centuries. 200 species acting together. That was unprecedented. The elder races had maintained control through division. Now the young civilizations were united. Elder Council member Valen approached Hyunwoo after the session. He was ancient even by elder standards, a being of pure thought existing in a crystalline matrix. You are making a mistake, Valen said telepathically. The elders have maintained galactic peace for millions of years. We know things you cannot imagine. Disrupting the order will lead to chaos. Hyunwoo smiled politely. Perhaps. Or perhaps your order has been maintained through oppression of younger species. Either way, the galaxy is changing. You can adapt or be left behind. Valen's crystalline body pulsed with anger. You have no idea what forces you are unleashing. Then perhaps you should explain instead of threatening. The elder being drifted away without responding. Hyunwoo watched him go, feeling both satisfaction and concern. He had won this political battle. The New Voices Coalition was real and growing stronger every day. But Valen's warning bothered him. What did the elder races know that humanity did not? 3 weeks later, long-range sensors detected something at the edge of the galaxy. Ships. Thousands of them. But not from any known civilization. They were coming from outside the galaxy entirely. Bora brought the report to Hyunwoo late at night. Her face was pale. We have a new problem. A much bigger one. Hyunwoo looked at the data. The approaching fleet was massive. Conservative estimates put it at over 10,000 ships. And they were heading straight for council space. Who are they? Unknown. The elder races have records of them. They call them the Voidborn. They are a hive mind species that consumes entire civilizations. They have appeared before millions of years ago. The elders fought them to a standstill and drove them away. When will they arrive? 2 years, maybe less. Hyunwoo stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, an invasion force was coming. Everything humanity had fought for, all the political games and military victories suddenly seemed small. Assemble the fleet. Contact Admiral Dae-jung. Tell him to return to the Nexus immediately. And get me a meeting with Speaker Velronis. All of us need to talk. For the first time since arriving at the council, Hyunwoo felt genuine fear. Earth had proven it could fight other civilizations. But could humanity, or anyone, stand against a force that had nearly destroyed the galaxy millions of years ago? The answer would determine not just Earth's future, but the survival of every species in the galaxy. The emergency council session was unlike anything in galactic history. Every species sent representatives. The chamber was packed. For the first time in millions of years, the elder races and the younger civilizations sat together, without arguing about politics or power. They had a common enemy now. Speaker Velronis stood at the center of the chamber. His crystalline body no longer glowed with confidence. He looked tired and old. The Voidborn are coming. We have 18 months before they reach our borders. Our projections show that they will destroy everything in their path. This is not conquest. This is extinction. The chamber was silent. Everyone had seen the intelligence reports. The Voidborn fleet numbered over 15,000 ships. Their vessels were organic, grown rather than built. They consumed planets for resources and absorbed technology from every species they encountered. A military delegate stood. What is our combined fleet strength? Velronis checked his data. If every major power commits their full military forces, we can assemble approximately 12,000 warships. We are outnumbered. Yes. Admiral Dae-jung stood. He had been sitting quietly in the human delegation section, watching and listening. Now all eyes turned to him. We cannot wait for them to arrive. If we let the Voidborn reach civilized space, they will pick us apart one system at a time. We need to hit them before they expect it. An elder race military commander scoffed. You propose we attack first? Their fleet is larger than ours. Numbers are not everything. Daejung activated a holographic display. It showed the Voidborn fleet and the route they were taking. Earth has been studying your records. We have analyzed every battle your ancestors fought against them. The Voidborn are predictable. They use overwhelming force and direct assault. They do not adapt well to new tactics. And you believe you can defeat them? Felronis asked. I believe we can hurt them badly enough to make them turn back, but it will require every ship we have, and it will require unity of command. No separate fleets operating independently. One force, one strategy, one commander. The chamber erupted in arguments. No elder race would accept human command. No young civilization would trust the elders. The political divisions that had plagued the council for millennia threatened to doom them all. Ambassador Hyun-woo stood and waited for silence. When the noise died down, he spoke calmly. We are going to die, all of us, unless we put aside our pride and work together. Earth offers its fleet and its tactical expertise, but we need your ships too, all of them. Elder races and young civilizations fighting as one, and who commands this fleet? An elder delegate demanded Admiral Daejung. He has proven his ability. He stopped the Korlin War with minimal casualties. He understands modern warfare better than anyone here. Give him command or condemn us all to death. The vote was close. Many elder races voted against it, but the New Voices coalition supported Earth, and enough military powers recognized the logic of the proposal. Admiral Daejung was given command of the combined fleet. Preparation took 4 months. Ships from 1,000 different species gathered at rally points across the galaxy. Engineers worked around the clock to make different technologies compatible. Crews trained together, learning to coordinate across language and cultural barriers. Captain Subin was promoted to Fleet Admiral. She now commanded Earth's 3rd Fleet, 300 human warships that would form the vanguard of the attack. It was the most important assignment of her life. She stood on the bridge of her new flagship looking at the assembled forces. 12,000 ships from across the galaxy, all working together. It was beautiful in a way. If they survived this, maybe galactic civilization would be different. Better. All ships report ready, her tactical officer said. Admiral Daejung's face appeared on every ship's screen. This is it. We are going to meet the Voidborn at the edge of the galaxy. We will hit them hard and fast. Do not try to destroy every ship. Focus on their command nodes. Break their coordination and they will retreat. He paused, then continued. Some of us will not come back. That is the reality of war. But if we succeed, we save trillions of lives. We save civilization itself. Make your sacrifices count. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched and twisted around them. When they emerged, they were at the galaxy's edge in the vast empty space between galaxies, and there waiting for them was the Voidborn fleet. The enemy ships looked like massive insects, all carapace and claws. They moved in perfect unison, controlled by a single hive mind. As soon as the galactic fleet appeared, the Voidborn attacked. The battle was chaos from the start. Thousands of ships engaged across a volume of space larger than most solar systems. Energy beams crossed the void. Missiles burned through the darkness. Ships exploded or were torn apart by weapons that bent reality itself. Lieutenant Kyung-soo led his fighter squadron into the heart of the enemy formation. His mission was simple but deadly. Find the command nodes and destroy them. The Voidborn ships were organic, which meant their command centers were vulnerable to certain types of attack. He dove through defensive fire that turned space white with energy. 3 fighters in his squadron were destroyed before they even reached the target. But Kyung-soo kept flying. He had trained for this. He was ready. There, a massive ship at the center of a Voidborn formation. Its biosignature matched the command node profile. Kyung-soo armed his graviton torpedoes and fired. The torpedoes punched through the organic armor and detonated inside. The command ship convulsed and died. Immediately, the surrounding Voidborn vessels lost coordination. They drifted, confused, easy targets. Target destroyed, Kyung-soo reported. Moving to next objective. Across the battlefield, the same scene repeated. Human fighters and alien strike craft hunted command nodes while capital ships engaged the main Voidborn force. Engineer Dal-Su's graviton weapons proved devastating. They could tear through organic armor that resisted conventional weapons. But the Voidborn were learning. The hive mind adapted faster than expected. It began protecting command nodes with heavy escorts. It developed new tactics to counter the graviton weapons. The battle that was supposed to last hours stretched into days. Admiral Subin watched her fleet take damage. A quarter of her ships were destroyed or disabled. But they kept fighting. Every species in the galaxy had someone in this battle. They all had something to lose. Admiral Dae-jung sat in his command center coordinating the massive fleet. He had not slept in 3 days. Stimulants kept him alert, but he knew he was running on borrowed time. The battle was reaching its critical point. All ships, this is Admiral Dae-jung. Execute final assault pattern. All reserves commit now. The 200 ships he had held back joined the battle. Fresh forces hit the exhausted Voidborn fleet. It was the push they needed. Command nodes fell one after another. The hive mind's coordination collapsed. The Voidborn fleet began to retreat. Pursuit forces, maintain pressure. Do not let them regroup. The rest of you search for survivors. The Battle of the Abyss lasted 3 weeks. When it ended, the Voidborn fleet was destroyed. Only a few hundred ships escaped back into the void between galaxies. The Galactic fleet had won, but the cost was terrible. 4,000 ships destroyed, millions of lives lost. Earth lost 300 warships. Captain Subin survived. Lieutenant Kyung-soo survived, though his fighter was held together with emergency patches. Admiral Dae-jung survived, though he collapsed from exhaustion immediately after the battle ended. They returned to the Nexus as heroes. The victory celebration lasted a week. Every species honored their dead and celebrated their survival. The elder races, humbled by the battle, acknowledged that age and wisdom had not been enough. Only unity had saved them. Speaker Velronis stood before the council chamber. The room was packed with representatives who had fought together and bled together. The Galactic Council is forever changed. We have seen that cooperation is stronger than division, that new ideas are as valuable as ancient wisdom. Today we reform our structure. The Security Committee will have permanent seats for both elder races and young civilizations. Earth, in recognition of its leadership and sacrifice, is appointed to the position of Deputy Speaker. Ambassador Hyun-woo accepted the position with dignity. He spoke briefly about Earth's journey from isolation to integration, about the cost of power and the responsibility it brings. We did not seek to dominate. We sought to survive and to help others survive. That mission continues. The galaxy is dangerous, but together we are stronger than any threat. Back on Earth, construction yards worked day and night. New ships were being built to replace those lost. But they were different now. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists, combining technologies and ideas. The ships being built were faster, stronger, and better than anything that came before. Admiral Dae-jung retired from active duty. He spent his remaining years writing and teaching, passing on his knowledge to the next generation. Captain Subin took command of Earth's rebuilt Third Fleet. Lieutenant Kyung-soo became a flight instructor, training pilots from dozens of species. The galaxy had changed. The 1,000 warships Earth brought to the Council were now just part of a much larger fleet. Human ships patrolled trade routes alongside alien vessels. Human diplomats worked with representatives from every civilization. The silent years were forgotten. Earth was home now, not just to humanity,